Yo, what's up? It has been too long. We've been taking a little bit of break. We're working on some stuff for you guys. But I think tonight there's been a lot of news. There's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of bull. So we're going to jump in. We're going to do a little bit of chatting. We're going to talk about some stuff. We might have some peoples come in and hang out with us. We're not too sure what the night brings, but I think it's time to get into this conversation because everybody else is out there doing things about this. And I think it's time to get down to what's really going on and what the hype's all about. So let's do that. Let's get into it for a little bit. Let's talk about what I think and how I feel and what's going on in my head. And then, like I said, maybe some of our buddies will join in and we'll hang out. And if not, it is what it is. So let's get started. The news of the day. Let's actually, I'm going to share some screens and we'll go through some Twitter. Wrong button. You can see how long it's been since we've been on. Okay, so we're going to share a screen and we're going to go to Twitter. All right, so let's go to Twitter and then we're going to not share it. Let's wait. Let me find what I'm looking for. Okay, so we're going to go over to Twitter and we're going to, there's a lot of things trending. Ahsoka's trending because there's some behind the scenes that got dropped. Dave Filoni is all up in the Twitter news. So we're going to go through and we're going to find some of this. But you can just go through YouTube also and you can see what everybody is feeling. No. This is specifically about Dave, right? So this is more about a position that he is taking. That I don't know if I've seen this position at Lucasfilm before. I'd have to go through and look at the history and look at maybe the masthead and see who's what. But either way, to break this down in the first 2 minutes of the stream, Dave Filoni has been given the title of CCO, which is the Chief Creative Officer, And so basically he is in charge of everything story, which is basically what he was doing before this. I don't really feel like this is anything new. I think this is what he has been doing before. But this is not going to change what is going on over on the daily over there at Lucasfilm as far as Star Wars is concerned. This is what Dave has been doing. This is old hat for quite a while now. He's been out in that space with his big whiteboards in their rooms, mapping out what is going on right now and what is going on moving forward and how these shows are going to tie into each other. So there's a lot going on. So we can go to the Vanity Fair. Let's go to Vanity Fair. Somebody just showed up. And if it's Scotty, he can let himself in. I just have to get his sound ready. Are you ready? I think he's not ready. Okay, he'll let me know when he's ready. Okay, so let's go. Vanity Fair. Okay, this is the one we're talking about. So I think this is it. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to load this shit up. All right, so. Oh, man. I hate these. I wish I had more control of the layout of StreamYard, right? Like more real control of like where everything goes. But it is what it is. Okay. So here we have the Vanity Fair article. And we are just going to scroll past the ad. And so this is the article. Everybody has covered this article. It released today, this morning, and basically every person has covered this in the space. So anybody that's covering Star Wars has covered this ad nauseum. We are going to follow up with some other comments and critiques. Basically, this is far away. Star Wars undertakes universe-shaking changes. Oh, you came in.
Figured it out all by myself.
All by yourself.
Jeez.
So yeah, what's up, dude? Here, let me bring this down for a minute.
Chilling, man. Chilling. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
There's no cutting off. This is a
We're
this is
not
a free
rambling or
space.
anything.
Oh, this is a free space. It's all good. No worries.
What is
But yeah,
up? I
what's
feel like I
up,
haven't been
dude?
in front of a camera in forever.
I know I got a new
Mm.
controller, and I feel like I've been spending so much time in the gaming space lately. So
Yep. I've just
but
been
yeah,
cooking. I've been stirring the pot back here.
well, and I've been building. We a lot of people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm building something huge,
Mm.
something so huge. It's gonna be fabulous. But yeah, it's something big coming. But aside from that, this big article came out with the lack of success from Ahsoka, I guess, because the
Mm.
numbers were bad. Uh,
Mm.
but
Numbers bad, show bad.
numbers,
We
but
we know this.
can you have and this is something in chat, please get in this also. Can a good show get bad ratings?
Can a
Right?
good show be bad? I
Can a
mean,
good show get bad ratings? Right? I mean, Loki was a really good show, and that
yeah.
got not great ratings also. And we've talked about this in the past. I feel like Disney Plus is a throwaway for the mouse, right? It's a
Mm.
platform to try
I
stuff.
would say, yeah, not throwaway. I would say experimental.
It's expendable.
Trying to do things. Well, I'm not going that far because
I mean,
streaming is the new
right, but
money, the new money.
you cannot make shows like the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, Little Big Shots, the John Stamos basketball show,
Mm.
National Treasure, that episodic that was on there. You can't make these shows uh get a fan base that is, even if the masses aren't excited about it, there's still a small group of people that are excited about this stuff, and then delete them from the platform, right?
And
Completely. So
expect people to stick around for other things like that, right?
you see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I just feel like Disney has decided that certain things are 100%. It's okay to lose money in the beginning, right? It's a long race to the finish line, right? In the streaming space, it's still very new.
But I also think that they have the luxury of learning from everyone else's mistakes, Netflix, etc. So Netflix has had some huge oopsies, big oopsie daisies, and then shows have been canceled. Shows have been retitled. Like I think they've changed the names of things. Like, I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, look at the Avatar
So
show. The Avatar show has been something that's been in the works for a really, really long
mhm,
time. So I mean, Netflix has a different they're the oldest in the game. So when you're the oldest, you get certain
mhm.
projects like, Cobra Kai and the new Avatar show and Stranger Things. And I've also said this for a long time also. Netflix releases everything at one time, right? You get the whole season so you can binge it and it gets those amazing ratings. Disney releasing every week turns a lot of viewers off because they can't sit. They'll wait till the end and then get it. So those in week reviews and in week what's the word I'm looking for? In week numbers
Yep.
don't really hold because a lot of people are like, I'll just wait 6 weeks.
They're learning though, bro. Echo is coming out all at once.
I agree.
So,
And it's going to be
and they
probably
do
rated
weird
MA.
things with like Kenobi and releasing multiple episodes. So like they're figuring it out, and I think they're figuring it out more than we know.
Oh, I agree. And I think this move by Lucasfilm is a big part of that, is a big move, because now what I've been saying for 2.5 years uh is now documented in business paperwork, right? Now Dave is more than just an executive producer, is more than just an executive in charge. Now he has a legit title. So we're talking about the truth behind this hype. There's a lot more truth behind this hype than just Dave's going to be working with Kathleen and Dave's going to be telling the story. Dave's already been doing that shit. What this does is this gives him a seat at the big kid table, right? Is the people that have C blank O, anybody that's got those C and O sandwiched their position in the middle, that's a huge deal. That gives you a seat at the table. CFO, chief financial officer, that person holds the purse. That person is in charge of the money and responsible for taxes and bottom line to the shareholders. The CEO is the executive officer in charge of the whole company, basically the president. Now this position, you know, COO, chief operating officer, that handles all operations, right? So this is a chief creative officer. This gives him a seat at the table when they're talking about what are we cutting, what are we keeping, right? This isn't a decision that gets thumbed down to him. Now he is part of the decision-making process.
Not only that, but and this is what I think is the biggest for me, is the marketing, media, and branding of Lucasfilm is now under his control. Correct. That is like the entire creative, everything that they're trying to put out there, the image of Star Wars, I think is now right here on his shoulders. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Let's go ahead and get in while you know, while everybody else waits so that they know what we're talking about, right? So let's continue in this so everybody knows what we're talking about. So let's get into the article real quick, and then we'll see if some other friends join us. But the article talks about universe shaking changes after Ahsoka. It talks about, you know, their landscape, whatever. Dave Filoni has a new mission in Star Wars universe after guiding Rosario Dawson's force-wielding hero to distant celestial realms in the first season of Ahsoka. The writer, producer, director, who started out working alongside George Lucas on the animated Clone Wars show nearly 2 decades ago, has ascended to a new position at Lucasfilm, one that has given him input into all the galactic storytelling going forward. That's just what we were just talking about. Now I'm what's called Chief Creative Officer of Lucasfilm, Filoni tells Vanity Fair, which places him into the development process much earlier and in much more expansive capacity than his previous advisory duties. In the past, in a lot of projects I would be brought into, I would see it after it had already been developed a good ways. So he's saying here what we've been saying for quite a bit, that he would get, for instance, let's talk about Book of Boba Fett. Yes, he was on set and advised, but the story had been written. The director had been hired. They were along in shooting. Yes, he was involved, but he wasn't making decisions at a early level. He was brought in to advise during those shows shooting, right? He wasn't brought in the early development of those stories. I feel like that's the same thing with a couple of other shows that they did early on before he ascended to this new height.
Yeah, he really only did that when characters he was directly involved in creating started getting involved. Right. So I think that story is going to kind of over encompass the future stories.
Well, if for instance, Mando, when Mando showed up in Boba, that's, you know, having the Mandalorian working with Favreau and moving into that next story. I don't really think he was involved in who's getting hired, who's not, right? I think that was more of a above his pay grade kind of ultimate decision, with Kathleen making those decisions. Now she's not going to be have as much control over what goes on in the creative process. Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta take him out. Hold on. I gotta stop.
And just for
that's better.
What up, man?
What's up, dude? What's cracking?
Oh my gosh. Should I tell you now or should I tell you after the stream?
We'll wait. Let's wait. You'll wait. Good news comes at the end. All right. So getting back to this article, Filoni will now work more directly with Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy and alongside Carrie Beck, a veteran producer turned head of development. to originate and shepherd the next generation of Star Wars shows and movies. After spending many years involved with the creation of Star Wars animation, including the Rebel series, he became increasingly involved in live action as a producer with Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett. In this new role, it opens up what basically everything that is going on, Filoni says. When we're planning the future of what we're doing now, I'm involved at the inception phase. This is probably the most important thing said in this entire article, quoted from Dave Filoni. This is the most important thing. When we are planning the future of what we are doing now, I am involved at the inception phase, which, I'm hearing a lot of crying already because, Dave is trying to he's trying to feminize Star Wars, all these female leads and all these female actresses coming into Star Wars. He's intentionally trying to ruin Star Wars, and now that he'll be working hand in hand with Kathleen, now they can make Star Wars even more feminine and make the Force even more female. I disagree with that more in the fact that now Dave has more say in what the conversation is. So before, there's a point where the people
he's basically the Kevin Feige now.
He is. That is exactly it.
Or the
he's what
James Gunn
wanted him to be for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the same time,
or I'll say, at least for the Steelman argument, we wanted one person that we could point a finger at, that people, I think a lot of people assumed Kathleen Kennedy was that guy, but she's not that guy, pal.
No.
Like she was the front man, the fall guy. Like she was the face that everybody knew in the industry, not just us, not just the audience, but she was the representative that George Lucas picked, basically. So now we have the guy, like the one person that arguably people would say is for the people, for the true fans of the story. Rebels is arguably one of the best arcs of all of Star Wars. So yeah, I agree. I think everybody's been waiting for this for a long time.
But I think that this goes back to, I mean, I know the argument is that Dave,
if nothing else, it's a new beginning.
Well, I guess it kind of solidifies what I've been saying for a while, is that Dave is the rightful heir to George Lucas's, throne. And Kathleen has always kind of been a placeholder while Dave figures out the business, right? What people don't understand, and I'm sure a lot of other people in the industry that work in television and movies and animation and all this fun shit can attest to, is that having an idea and knowing what it's like to make it happen are two very different things, right? Like writing a script and then or animating something is very different than making a movie or making an episodic or making a reality show or whatever you're putting on. Any event that you're doing is large and hard and difficult, and it costs money to make these things happen. And a lot of people don't know what's involved in that. So for Dave to go through all these processes and then write, produce, direct his own show, have it be the success that it really was in the storytelling leading to the future. After that, I can see why they would want to promote him.
Guy, I don't think people realize like the hype. He will now fully be involved with Dawn of the Jedi. Like he's going to be fully involved in the creation of whatever they do with the future Rey stories, the future Grogu stories. Like that's all going to come from this dude now.
Well, I mean,
Jon Favreau heavily involved. I bet Favreau never go back to anywhere else. He'll be here now forever.
This happened all before those movies went into production, because right now they were just announced. So the fact that not a single piece of thing has been shot, nor pre-production has started, Dave can now implement his who's or what's it's and his World Between Worlds and all this shit in his head in those projects. He even said he's not going to tell people what they wanted to do, he's gonna let them cook, but at the same time, Dave is gonna Dave for sure.
Well, but look, I mean, there's look, and this is what I've been saying for quite a while.
What okay?
Dave has the same kind of whiteboard that Feige had, right? He's got the same plan of attack as Feige. Great producers think alike, right? And Feige had his master plan through phase 4, right? And that went pretty successfully, right? It's the last phase of the MCU that has really kind of fallen apart for them. But up until now, it's been a really big success. The same thing, I think, will now be said with, because look at the Marvel movies before Feige, right? Yes, Iron Mans were successful, but like look at the older Hulks, right? Look at some of the older stuff that we got before the
True.
the creation of let's say Marvel Studios,
the Eric Banas of the world.
All of that had to kind of, and with that, I think there's the same turn can be seen ahead for Star Wars, having one man that understands Star Wars better than anybody else in Lucasfilm right now.
I would say so too. I would say so for sure. What my question is, why now? Why the announcement now? Is there some like big event? Like all the cons are over with, right?
Let's get back to the article and maybe they'll tell us. The news comes a little over a month after the conclusion of Ahsoka, an 8-week Disney Plus series that explored how Dawson's Jedi grappled with her legacy of being trained by Anakin Skywalker, the mentor who became the galactic tyrant Darth Vader. Due to the long-running Hollywood strikes, neither Filoni nor Dawson were able to speak about the show when it debuted. In a Vanity Fair exclusive, both of them are now free to discuss the changes the show brought to the broader Star Wars narrative, both on screen and behind the scenes. So there's your answer. Right out of the gate, the strikes did not allow anybody to talk about their content. Unfortunately, it ended after the show was finished. And now moving forward, they can do interviews. So we're going to get a lot more. That's why you're seeing the behind the scenes photos, all the behind the scenes articles, because now that the strike's over, everybody can share what they did. So, I guess that's kind of why.
That would make sense. I guess studios don't really want to promote what they're doing behind the scenes if they don't have anything to promote.
Exactly. And they're not going to
know when the shit's going to end. Yeah.
Well, they're not going to talk about the next phase, and they're not going to advertise promotions that were probably in the works before the strike.
Bro,
right?
And
it's not a move that came. This isn't something they woke up November 20th on Monday morning and were like, you know what? Let's create a new job for Dave. Dave needs a new job. The strikes are over. Right?
Netflix did though. Bro, Netflix woke up that morning and they're like, hey, you got those 12 movie trailers and show trailers that we've been waiting for? Get that shit up on YouTube right now.
The editors weren't on strike.
Dude, they dropped trailer after trailer after trailer all week. I was like, they're never going to end.
Strike. None of us were on strike. They were making things in the studio. They were, what they were doing is everybody was cutting trailers.
They flooded the market.
And then as soon as the strike was over, all the actors came in the studio and voiced over the trailers and they released them like the next day. Right. Yeah. So, look, I mean, this is all because of the strike. This is all delay. Everything is delayed because of the strike. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but this is where we are. So, let's finish this article so I can get us back on the big screen. Hayden returned to play the spirited Anakin Skywalker in Ahsoka, also spoke about the reprising his role from the prequel films and what the series says about how Darth Vader I'm sorry. I got lost by this guy dancing behind
the ad.
The ad totally got me. Reckons with his own terrible history in the galactic afterlife. And Natasha, I'm going to mess up her name, so I'm not even going to say it, who plays Sabine Wren, the Mandalorian troublemaker who becomes Ahsoka's own Jedi trainee, addresses the ways Ahsoka opens up this world to a new generation of fans by simultaneously embracing tradition and trying to forge new storylines. Okay, and I'm guessing this is from Natasha. You just learn a lot from Dave in general, I think. I know that he's traditional in the how he learned so much from George. He has these pillars of storytelling that are dear to him, and then everything else can be untraditional. Interesting. Filoni's new role. Now that Filoni will take on the role of chief creative officer, what does that mean for the other writers, directors, and producers? And this is where he talks about what you were
It
saying.
means sit down, be humble.
Sit down and shut up and take it. God damn it,
Yeah.
Bobby. Every time I
Grab a
think you can't get
goddamn-
any stupider, you go and open your mouth.
Grab a notebook and a pencil.
Right? Start taking notes, suckers. No.
Yeah.
What does it mean? And Dave says himself, I'm not telling people what to do, Filoni says, but I do feel I'm trying to help them tell the best story that they want to tell. I need to be a help across the galaxy here, like part of the Jedi Council almost. He describes responsibilities as understanding the intent of the filmmakers and being a resource to them based on his mentorship under Lucas himself. This and his years spent steering the Clone Wars, Rebels, and Ahsoka, literally hours now of Star Wars storytelling I have done. He says before pausing and rethinking his synaxis, and I don't even know what that word is because I'm stupid. I'm moving on. I even phrase that like Yoda. So
See,
yeah.
no one knows what it means. It's all good.
I hope the chat knows because I'm kind of
I
illiterate.
missed it too.
At the Star Wars Celebration fan convention this past spring, a number of new projects were announced by Kennedy, including feature films from Filoni that would help bridge the decades-long gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, a space that The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and Ahsoka are already busy filling. Filoni will continue developing his film as well as exploring a possible second season of Ahsoka. That's already been greenlit. This story, I don't know why they wouldn't just say it, but whatever. While serving in his new position. To truly help filmmakers, it was really important for me to exercise it firsthand. I can also lend a perspective on the challenges that telling these stories will present. I feel more capable of actually being helpful outside of just saying, well, the Jedi are like this and the Sith are like this, right? So this is what we were talking about, having the perspective of a writer, director, producer role gives him all of the hats to be able to help these guys ferry their
Sympathetic
story.
villains again?
Well, but how
Damn
about
it.
this? What now? Remind me, what could that statement mean? That statement could mean somebody like Charles Soule could maybe he could help him usher him from animation to a live action movie or show.
Yes, please,
Bro.
Yes, please. Yes,
So
please.
that's what that
What
statement tells me. Did Dave
I got one
Filoni
for
hint?
you.
Did Dave Filoni hint in this statement here that
Chat, you're gonna hear it here first.
that he's going to helping usher in people from one side to the other? Go ahead.
This is my prediction, okay? And I want everyone to listen up because it's High Republic, okay? Charles Soule before this got promoted to creative consultant. He helped launch the High Republic books and like he was part of this 10-person think tank. They spent like a month coming up with what the whole overall High Republic story was going to be. I would love to see Charles Soule and Kevin Scott head the live action, whatever it becomes of the High Republic, whether it's movies, shows, anything like that, but just give them their whole own section over there.
Come on,
Both
Reverend.
those guys. Kevin Scott, Charles Soule. Those will be the next two names.
And that's kind of what that statement tells me, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, that tells me I can also lend a perspective on the challenges that telling these stories will present. I feel more capable of actually being helpful outside of just telling people these are Sith, these are Jedi. That tells me he could potentially be mentoring somebody like Charles Soule to come in and help direct a show or movie High Republic based, because based on the Jedi Survivor, that's the direction that we're going. We're going to get some of that old lore shit that Charles Soule is so good at telling. This could be Dave Filoni basically outright saying, I'm going to mentor this dude and get, because I had to learn how to go from animation to live action. I'm going to teach this guy how to go from comic book to live action, right?
And
Or,
dude, they already like did some of that stuff, even though it was like flashbacks and it was in that video game. Like they have shown us multiple
all that,
personas.
but that's what I'm saying about his chief creative officer. Now, all of those stories, whether it's animation, game, or movie, or episodic, now he's pulling all of this stuff together. And I think he was doing that long before this position was created. This just again gives him a seat at the big boy table, right? The big kids table. Okay, moving on. So the titles from Star Wars Celebration are still on the books. Lucasfilm officials say, including the historical epic about the early origins about the Force from Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny filmmaker James Mangold, and a story revisiting Daisy Ridley's Rey from director. I don't know that director.
Sereno Boy de Chinoy.
Thank you. Upcoming television projects, including The Acolyte, set in the High Republic era about a century before the Star Wars story fans first encountered in 1977 original. And Skeleton Crew, a show about a group of lost young space travelers set sometime after the Empire's defeat in Return of the Jedi. So there's a lot going on there. The Rey movie, the Mangold movie, and the other shows.
Rumors about Alden Ehrenreich coming back as Han Solo, that whole thing.
Oh, that's gonna melt a lot of people. A lot of people are gonna have a shit fit.
They better
but it makes perfect sense.
And also, Donald Glover is coming back as Lando.
It makes perfect sense.
I can't.
If they don't, I'll be mad.
I can't. I mean, yeah, I can. Fuck it. Let's go. That would be awesome.
Thanks.
That kid did an awesome job. I really enjoyed Solo. I know a lot of people hate on it because of their own personal attachments to the original character and the bastardization of Han Solo, according to these folks. But it is what it is. I'm all about it. Let's bring him back. I hope he shows up in the Lando show. I think there would be nothing better than Han Solo showing up to best Lando one time.
And listen, you fans.
Isn't this a fucking repeat of Hayden Christensen as Anakin?
No. I don't feel that way. I don't really feel like that's this. I don't think people didn't hate.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Though? What do you mean?
Well, they gave Hayden a lot of shit in the third one because of his shit acting, but he comes back and everybody loves him.
I don't think people shit on this dude's acting as much as the story. I think people hated the story more than they disliked him because I think everybody said he did a great job playing the character. The content just sucked from everybody. At least that's how I've understood the fandom.
Sure. And I think what didn't work in his favor too, outside of Alden, no one wanted to see Harrison Ford get replaced anyway.
Well, right. I mean, everybody wanted the technology wasn't there yet. The Shamuking hadn't been shamooked yet, right? Yeah, he got to shamook after the movie had been out for a while, right? Yes, they could have shamooked it earlier, but Disney didn't have the technology. Shamook did. Disney didn't have it at the time.
That would have been bad anyways. Just bring back Alden or somebody.
I enjoyed that dude's portrayal of Han. I think the interaction with Chewie was spot on. I think I personally didn't have a problem with it, but then again, I'm a Disney shill, so I literally salivate at everything that is Disney and never speak ill of the mouse. But I mean, honestly, I really enjoyed the show or the movie as a whole. It's not something I go to in my instinct of what do I want to watch that's going to be in my background. It's more Rebels, Clone Wars, deeper storytelling than that one movie. But I think him coming back in the Lando, in whatever Lando project would be fantastic. I think him coming back for a Solo 2, which I think would be a hilarious title. Would be fun. Again, I think
Amelia Clark, man, need more Kira in my life.
I need more Kira in my life. I need more Maul in my life. I need more Crimson Dawn in my life.
I just need space pirates in my life.
right?
Yes
Oh,
to everything.
Hondo, Johnny Depp is Hondo.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah.
I'm yes to all of that. I'm more saying for me, and this is what I've been saying for a while. I think, and I say this very hesitantly, I think with Dave now legit captain of the ship, not just steer. So if if you're into pirates, and I know some of the Star Wars fans are into pirate, and some of them like playing pirates on the internet, in video games and stuff. If before Dave was steering the ship before, right? He was the guy on the wheel, right? Dave steering the ship, and Kathleen was the captain on top, yelling at Dave where to steer the ship, right? Because there wasn't anybody in that creative officer position, right? And so now Dave's not steering the ship anymore. Dave's yelling orders down, and Kathleen's back at the port, right? So I think now I'm hoping with Dave at the helm, we can get some of the stuff that I've been yearning for. We can get him a Boba Fett season 2, more backstory and return to Camino, right? Find his way back to the Mandalorians so he can be part of this Mando Filoni movie, right?
Maybe
Same.
this Echo show being a mature rating lights a fire under somebody's ass over there, and we can get some more mature Star Wars content.
Well, and I'm
Not
hoping the
not for
Acolyte-
nothing, like not for nothing. Star Wars has only been around for a few generations of like the super fandom. We're an aging fandom now. They're starting to give the
Well, the comic-
Marvel. They're starting to give they're starting to give the Marvel fandom their mature content, and they haven't even been around as long as us in the live action space, like
correct.
the greater cinema space. Like,
Well, they
come
have
on,
more.
man. What is the
DC
hesitation with the mature
DC
content?
and Marvel have a longer history because they were doing comic books before there was television. So they have more. They have a deeper root in the fandom as far as duration. However,
And I don't even mean mature as like blood and gore, but like the content that you're not gonna want to necessarily sit down and watch with your kid the first time. You ever gonna get anything like that, or are they just gonna stay fam?
no,
I don't know.
I think they are going dark. I think with the Acolyte, I think that could be. I think Echo introduces Disney Plus to an MA rating, which is very important. But I also feel like Star Wars, the Acolyte could be a little darker, get that MA rating, and that could lead to something.
Yeah, but they
awesome.
won't. I wish.
I mean, they might. We don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
Disney is getting darker and darker with Deadpool, right?
Like my kids love Marvel, and I'm not gonna show them Logan. We just aren't gonna go see Logan yet. So I don't know. And maybe because it was a Fox, like was that a Fox thing, and that's why I wasn't.
Was it?
Gory,
Do you feel like Logan was really that dark?
Just the violence.
Do you
for
show
me.
them the X-Men, that X-Men universe? Because
Yeah, they have watched like the Days of Future Past, that kind of
then
stuff.
there's no reason you can't show them Logan. I mean, he's violent in all of those movies. He's stabbing Jean Grey in the stomach at the end.
Yeah,
and this just shows. I feel like
I guess yeah.
I get
those
I guess,
may have came out and I wasn't really paying like.
Yeah,
that
he's
was
pretty
beyond their time.
cigar smoking, violent douchebag in most of those. But I feel like, especially
there was still
Logan,
some comic book feel element to those.
and sidebar,
PG-13.
Logan was dark,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, the lesson
It's the
is
R
love,
for me.
love beats everything, and that's the end
Yeah.
of the lesson. Is that even
And sometimes fists through the base
Well-
of the
well, I
skull
mean-
that come out the top.
but at the end of the day, like sacrifice for family, realizing who you are, right? There's a lot of really good lessons in Logan at the end of that movie that
Not
I think
arguing. Not arguing.
yes, it is a little violent, a little girl with spikes in her feet that kind of goes crazy martial art wise.
Mhm.
But again, I don't have kids, so what the hell do I know? But Star
But
Wars,
we have whole battles. Sorry,
Obsession
not to
with
go on a
weapons.
rant, but we have whole space like wars, and we don't see any of
and
that
the Mandalorian
war
cut a
side of
dude
it.
in half
We
and
saw a little bit of that actually in the flashbacks, Clone Wars. Young Ahsoka sitting down with the clones, and I think we see more of that anguish in like the animated stuff, but they can get away with it because it's all like kind of cutesy and drawn up that way. Like I want to get to the nitty gritty.
I think
Like-
I think if you're a young mind, I think that Anakin scene in the world between worlds could mess with you a little bit, because that that you lack conviction
what I'm
on a big
saying.
screen in the dark could really put a fear in you if you were little and impressionable. But ultimately, an MA rated show, Star Wars, The Acolyte, anything opens us up to something even bigger, something even larger, that could be the story of Darth Plagueis and the story of Darth Sidious and how Darth Sidious became Darth Sidious, and show us the novelization. Take the novelization from our guy.
Season 2, because I don't think you'll see any of that shit in season 1. All new characters.
For what?
Acolyte. No way you're seeing Palpatine in the first season.
No. I'm saying this can open the door
I think you'll get a Tenebrous
show of Sidious and just call it Sidious.
Oh yeah, it can open the door, but we got to get to the door first.
I'm saying, but Acolyte being a little more MA Star Wars opens the door for the story of Sidious, right? Yep. Show us the monster that becomes the ruler of the Galactic Empire, right?
Preferably played by Tom Hiddleston. Yes.
Bro, no, Matt Smith.
Bro,
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Matt Smith? Are you kidding me? Have you seen him play a Targaryen?
I don't fuck with House of the Dragon. No, I don't.
Okay, well, you need to.
No, fuck that. No, I'm good. I'll wait for the Jon Snow spinoff.
Okay, President Kathleen, everybody's favorite person, as president of Lucasfilm, Kathleen will continue leading the overall company, and Beck's role will involve recruiting other storytellers to the Star Wars fold, while Filoni weighs in on a narrative level. Darth Vader's legacy in Ahsoka. Although Star Wars has literally thousands of characters populating its various stories, the single greatest touchstone remains Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. Two sides of the same individual. One honorable, the other deplorable. Awful word to use in this article. Ahsoka was distinctive among the Star Wars project for revealing into what it is like for read. I can't. This article is too smart for me.
I was gonna say something about this article.
This article is really written by somebody
half the amount of words that they put in there.
They took out their thesaurus, man, and brought out all the you words. Anyway, Ahsoka Tano was his Padawan apprentice. Well, you could have just said his Padawan and put a parentheses, or you obviously don't know Star Wars, whoever wrote this. Just as Luke Skywalker wondered about how much of his own nature was inherent from his father, Ahsoka questions in the series whether it is possible to trust, let alone pass on everything she has learned from the same man. And who is saying this? Rosario is saying this. She had a very particular idea of him, the Jedi Order, and who she was in all of that for a very long time, until that image was shattered. The point we graduate to here is, yes, he did some terrible things, and he also did some really great things. And it's always up to you how you choose the direction. She can look back at her own life. She's gone through some hardships that could have been the moment that turned her to the dark side. She didn't go there. So I think she's starting to trust herself, right? Okay, great. The series continues on an arc from the animated Rebel series set at the beginning of the Galactic Uprising, when Vader was at full power as an Imperial enforcer, and Ahsoka came face to mask with her former mentor. While I had introduced in Rebels the idea that she came to understand that Anakin had become Darth Vader, I never really dealt with the fallout from that, Filoni says. How does that affect somebody when a person that they really admire and looked up to turned out not only to be the person that they thought they were? Are we all just capable of a fall from grace? And what is forgiveness? What shape does that look like? Did I take the good parts of this person with me as well as the bad? Or am I just the good? I thought there were a lot of interesting challenges for her. Dave is a fucking genius.
Mm.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying. In episode 5 of the Ahsoka series, Dawson's character is defeated and nearly killed in battle by the fallen Jedi turned mercenary named Baylan Skull, played by the late Ray Stevensons, who cast her off a cliff into the raging sea. She then goes through what appears to be a near-death experience, teleporting her to the luminary space known in the Star Wars lore as the World Between Worlds,
No, it wasn't. It was Vision all in her head.
where
It
the
was in her head.
spirit
No.
of Anakin helps guide her through the conflict rolling inside of her. Maybe he's also a warning of what can still happen, but that's still significant in a positive way if you want it to be, Dawson says. So even Rosario says
Yeah.
this is a world between worlds.
You ain't supposed to know. Stop. Shit, do it again. I always cut off the memes. I was gonna say, so quit your bitching. Don't ask. You ain't supposed to know.
In many ways, the character of Ahsoka Tano is growing up along with the fans who first encountered Ahsoka when they were children watching the animated series in the late 2000s. The things she asks in the Ahsoka series are grown-up questions of legacy and destiny. Is she on the right path? Should she discard her past in order to move forward? Or are flawed things still worth preserving? Rosario states, and I'm just so I don't have to stop her talking, we were able to take a little bit more time to go, what does this feel like? What does this mean? And explore the choices that come from that kind of reckoning. We've seen that when she decides to leave the Jedi Order. We saw that when she walked away from Anakin. There have been pivotal moments. This felt like that sentimental moment. No, not
Seminal.
Seminal moment.
Seminal.
Sorry. This is a different rite of passage, which is kind of what the whole show was about this first season. I feel like there's room for a lot more. Hayden Christensen returns as Anakin. The World Between Worlds sequences in Ahsoka opened the door for Christensen to return as Anakin Skywalker, reprising the role of the brash young Jedi he first performed in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. The actor previously came back as a scarred and broken Vader in Obi-Wan Kenobi series, but Ahsoka offered him the chance to revisit the character post redemption. Christensen says he played it with a deliberate sense of uncertainty. Is this really him, or is this a figment of Ahsoka's troubled mind? Oh, this just lines up Scott. I could see his smile just brooding.
Which part? What you're reading or what Anthony just posted in the chat?
I didn't see what else.
Don't get me started, Anthony. No, I'm just trolling. But
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. That's the beauty of how this episode is constructed, in my opinion, the actor says. Inevitably, the audience has to question what it is they're watching. Is this really the world between worlds? What is the world between worlds? Is it actually a spirit of Anakin Skywalker, or is this all in Ahsoka's subconscious? And we're just going down the yellow brick road as she's drowning and fighting for her life. I think this is the episode provides a few really good clues, but it doesn't spell it out for you. Very interesting. Filoni prefers to leave the mystery open to interpretation, but he defers to Lucas as the definitive storytelling on Vader. For him, this show is about how Ahsoka's character dealt with her past, rather than continuing to cautionary tale of Anakin Skywalker as a Force ghost. My feeling about Anakin is that George resolved everything about Anakin. I don't think I have anything to do there. I'm not trying to add anything to that. Everything Anakin's involved with is about her. It's about her point of view on Anakin. It's about what Anakin taught her. He's there in more of an Obi-Wan role than we saw in the old movies.
Makes sense. Anakin Force Ghost teaching the Padawan. Yes, yes, yes.
Still, Ahsoka suggests that even after Anakin's story was complete, the character continues to Jekyll and Hyde struggle to maintain his descendancy with Vader still lurking somewhere within. Flashes of Vader lurch out of Ahsoka's vision, or maybe that's just Ahsoka's imagination. There's also an interpretation that the spirit of Anakin intercedes to save her from death, rescuing his old apprentice from her fall to the ocean. Damn, this article goes really deep. There's a lot.
I love
There's
it.
a lot there to unpack potentially. Christensen says, I was getting to play a version of this character that I hadn't before, and that was the all-knowing, all-powerful Jedi Master who could wield both sides of the Force, light and dark, at will, and maybe has the power to save Ahsoka's life. With also being very interesting because that's the power that he was trying to achieve when he pledged himself to the dark side. Oh, how juicy. In fact, the final shot of the series, the Force Ghost Anakin quietly watching Ahsoka from afar as she speaks with her Force-sensitive trainee Sabine. The planets in the solar system align. That's one shot gives viewers a perspective on 3 generations of Jedi. Anakin, of course, he's there with her, Filoni says. He's always been there with her, but she just couldn't see it. God, I love it that he makes my points for me. She couldn't feel it. She didn't know. She had isolated herself and made herself alone because she was afraid. This is the same conversation that we had about Kenobi and Qui-Gon at the end of the Obi-Wan series, right? At the end of the Kenobi series, my interpretation was the Force ghosts are always kind of lurking. They're always kind of watching, but it's the Padawan. It's their it's their willingness to open up and see them and connect with them, right? Everybody who shuts himself off, we see it time and time again. We see Luke with Yoda, cuts himself off, can't see him, comes back, sees him. We see it with Kenobi and Qui-Gon, now here with Ahsoka and Anakin. Okay. He has done a great deal to alleviate that fear in her. So there's a moment. I think he's proud of her in the end. He sees that she's going to be a better mentor. I debate Force Ghosts with people all the time. To me, what they are mainly is inspiration. You have people in your life that I'm sure have inspired you, and you feel that all the time. You feel that when you need it. Interesting way to look at Force Ghosts from the voice of Dave Filoni. How much longer is this fucking article?
Bro, this is
long
pretty
as
fucking long.
Okay.
God,
I don't feel like reading that. I don't feel like reading that much. So we're gonna look for quotes. Let's talk about Ray Stevenson's untimely passing.
Yeah, I'm
Opening
curious.
an entire new galaxy. Okay, everybody can read this article if they want. Let's talk about Ray Stevenson's untimely passing. The unexpected death of Stevenson at age 58 this past May after he had finished shooting his role as Baylan in Ahsoka left an emotional void for his colleagues, but also a narrative one for his character. The series ended with a morally gray former Jedi standing on the ruins of a mountain-sized sculpture of the Mortis gods. This trio of supernatural beings first appeared in a particularly trippy episode of the Clone Wars, with one of them representing the light side of the Force, one of them standing for the darkness, and one father-like figure between them who balances both. You have to be careful with that, says Filoni, the ultimate Star Wars geek who nonetheless knows the perils of getting too acute for casual fans to follow. Arcane. I know it's very specific group of people that would even know what those statues are, but I thought it was an exciting image. And it does give you the shape of what Balin is after. Oh.
Why are the
Filoni-
eyes black? Why are the eyes black?
are the eyes? Well, I mean, they're hollow.
Yeah, why?
Maybe they didn't want to build any eyeballs. Um, to Filoni, Balin is a seeker, just like Ahsoka, someone wrestling with the memory of what he was taught, and subsequently delusional that he has said it. He's a person that survived the Clone Wars, that was trained in the waxing, warring day of the Jedi Knights, just like Anakin. He saw his order, his way of life fall apart, and basically deemed uh, he basically deemed it a failure. That way did not work. That it's not something worth resurrecting, which is why he tells Shin, I didn't teach you to be a Jedi. I taught you to be something more. That something more would seem to be rooted in the Force visions of deities. He tried to take these teachings that he learned as a young person and create his own way of being. And he looked in at the cycle of things and said, enough with this. If I have this power, I should wield it. I should be the one making decisions, which a lot of people with power decide that's the way to go, Filoni says. He's also very certain that what he's doing now is the right thing. While Filoni isn't yet sure what will become of Balin in Stevenson's absence, he's acknowledged that there is a character journey is not complete. Obviously, there's a story there, he says. We're in a wait and see pattern at this point, but I'm glad the conversation about Ray and how great he was. I used to have many debates with him and say, Ray, you're the villain here. And he'd be like, I don't think so. I was like, I know you don't think so, but you are. And I love that you're playing it like you're not, which is exactly the way Balin thinks. The character became one of the standout of the series, a new fan favorite. I think he would have been over the moon. The big regret here is that he didn't get to experience that, Filoni says. I'm glad he was at Star Wars Celebration with us, that he got to see the trailer and get a taste from the fans. And they've been nothing but wonderful about Rey's characters. So the last one talks about the second season, yada yada yada. So I mean, this whole thing leads to what I've been talking about for a while. There's a master plan, and now that the strike's over, they can go ahead. Now that both strikes are over, they can go ahead and divvy out the jobs and press on.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Got a lot of people showing up in here. I just want to say what up to T. Davidson because I haven't seen his ass in a long time.
Charlie's here too.
Matt Cave's here. Charlie, my bro. I've been thinking about you a lot. Great to see you here. Even if you're just lurking, bro. Appreciate you. Everybody, hell yeah. Long ass Vanity Fair article. What's everybody hyped about in that? That was a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
I can listen to Dave talk about Star Wars.
I think that's the thing that's best there is that Dave's speaking, right? I think that's and that's why I put that in the thumbie is because we don't hear Dave talk a lot other than red carpets and things like that. So the fact that Dave's having this conversation, the fact that Dave's doing these interviews, the fact that they got Rosario and Hayden, these are big deals because that shows us that they're in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah.
So much goodness is
coming. I think it's all connected.
It's been that way.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just now that
they're using the Zepho as a catalyst for this and the father and all that.
Well, and the
Mhm.
fact that they, that Dave talks about Ray and that his, they can get another actor to voice Ray Stevens and
To
Balin,
do anything,
and
yeah.
do a Tales of the Jedi, do a formal, background into him, finding maybe it culminates in him finding Shin. You get a little bit of his Jedi training, get a little bit of, just a little background story. It doesn't have to be long. That's why those Tales of the Jedis are so great, because they're these short little insights into the past. Moving forward, we're gonna have to see where they go with this. I'm still hoping that they edited this after, because he passed away before this aired, so they had
Yeah.
time to go back
Right.
and re-edit. And if they went back for a re-edit and went back in and cut his scenes at the end and have something left for season 2,
True.
that's kind of how it would feel to me, because it did end. It ended with a nice bow, but at the same time, I still feel like I don't think that's the way Dave really wanted to end it.
No, I mean,
It felt
shit.
short.
For me, homie standing on the hand pointing out there, that shit felt like a beginning, bro. That
Yeah.
felt like a
Right. I
beginning to
I
what Dave's taught. Like, that's what Dave's gonna be talking about for a long time now, guys. Like, get ready.
I just feel like there's it feels like a re-edit. I could be wrong. It feels like a re-edit to me. It feels like they might have a little more of Balin in the bag, and that they recut it after his death, knowing that they.
You think maybe he got a little further, a little closer?
Yeah, I think that he did get
That'd
a
be
little
cool.
closer, a little further.
That'd be fucking cool.
I would. I'm and now I'm reaching. I mean, I'm literally at the end of my fingertips
True.
reaching here, but I'm hoping it. That's how it felt to me. I love the ending of the episode. I like the nice tidy bow that everybody put together at the end of it, with Ahsoka and Anakin, and with Thrawn coming back to the universe, and Ezra. But I feel like the Balin story was kind of a toss in at the end, right? It seemed like they would have had more of that story in the bag before that ending, right? So I just feel like that, to me, it just didn't. It feel like they recut that last episode.
Could also be kept very ambiguous, because so for the same reason they could have cut out like more details about
For sure.
what off in the distance to be able to insert something else.
Right. So I mean, we'll see.
I
what
would love
happens.
to see a recast and the character fully explored, personally.
I mean, look, man, I would love to be able to, I would love to be able to reach out and have, it would be awesome to have a summit of storytellers, right? You get to do a paragraph of synopsis, if you will, a pitch of your story idea for,
Right.
this sequel, that sequel, not necessarily script writing, but that whole shabizzle, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for a Boba Fett season 2, right? More so than there's a Kenobi season 2 opportunity, right? I feel like
I mean,
Boba Fett season 2 is absolutely doable. And the same thing goes, Ahsoka season 2 is absolutely doable. There's still a lot of stuff on the table. How do they get back? Do they get back? Do they die out there? Right? Is Abeloth the thing? Right? Like what's what's the scoop out there? There's a lot going on for an Ahsoka season 2, and I feel like people were
there is.
so unhappy with Boba season 2 that they could turn that around with a little bit more Django in their lives.
Well, yeah, I mean, Boba literally gets fixed with a more mature rating and leaning into the bounty hunter war. Even if it's literally just flashbacks, I don't give a shit. But you can have him still sitting as the Diamo, whatever you want to have him as. But you can tell any Boba Fett stories you want to. He wears a goddamn helmet all the time. So don't be shy on that character of anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, look, Tem is obviously in, right?
Voice act all day. Just treat him like what's his fucking name? Pedro. Just treat him like Pedro.
Tem's into it all day. Boba and this Django arc. There's a lot of opportunity there. We saw the chain code stuff. He mentions his father, right? Like that whole episode about the armor really goes back to everything about Django. So taking Boba and saying, look, I wasn't made for this, and leave it with either Fennec and Black Chrysanthemum and the youngling dipshits on the scooters.
Yeah.
And say, look, now that the city's safe and everybody's happy, I got to do me and move on, and lead him back to Camino. Right. I mean, I think that whole experience going back to
But I don't
Camino,
think that needs to be a future story. Like you want him to go back to the destroyed planet now.
Yeah. I want him to go.
That's a much harder sell, I think.
Well, here's my thing is that I feel like
got to be written a lot more carefully.
Because water is such a commodity on Tatooine, right? It's water is where the Tuskens are such assholes.
Are we going here? Are we
we're
going
going here. Well, I'm going there. I feel like if you're going to talk about the story of Boba Fett here and now, he's the Daimyo, so he's like, well, what brings money? Water. Well, I know this planet that's got a whole buttload of water.
He's gonna get one of Kamala Khan's bands. He's gonna open up one of them portals, and the water is just gonna come from the atmosphere.
That's it. No, he's gonna fill a Purgle. It's gonna be like Pinocchio. He's gonna fill the Purgle full of water, and then fly.
Bro, just a bucket brigade of them coming out of the portals full of. Oh my god!
I knew that one would get you.
Chat, someone stop him. Chat, please. Somebody stop him.
I do. But I honestly
the Purgle bucket brigade to refill the ocean.
Purgle bucket brigade. That's it.
I'm making that meme, I think.
But I think that could be a good way to take him back to Camino, find a Jango Fett hidden platform, kind of like the one what's my girl in the Bad Batch, Omega. We see Omega find that platform for that secret lab. It would make sense that Jango would put his own secret platform somewhere on Camino in case.
Oh shit, bro! We're all those Purgle are dead. As soon as the water goes in outer space, it freezes. You just fucking.
That's it. We killed them. They're dead.
Bucket brigade ain't gonna work, guys.
Don't they have like shields? That's what protects them from hyperspace. I mean, Ahsoka and them were inside the gullet, right? So they were safe.
Yeah. What the hell?
No, they were in a ship. But yeah, I mean, I do feel like it's a good opportunity to take Boba back. Go back into the Jango era.
Yeah.
Do a little de-aging.
I want that. I want the live action bounty hunter wars.
Well, I mean, but
there's whole comics about the war between all these bounty hunters.
And I think you could get into some of that. But I think for Boba, look, people want the Boba from Mando season 2, right? That's the Boba people want, right? So let's give them that. Let's give them Boba and Mando season 2. Let's take him back to Camino. Let's do some flashbacks with a DH Tem with hair, playing Jango, and have some of that Mandalorian lore from the Boba Fett EU legend stuff that people claim.
Yeah, like just give him the robes and the gaffy stick for Christ's sake. Like,
and well,
much more savage with that shit.
And take this journey as to how Jango is actually involved in the Mandalorian worlds, right? How he fits there, right? I mean, am I wrong?
Actually, give me just train this kid up. Get him into media training right now. Oops, sorry.
Who, me?
No, Daniel Logan, the young. He's almost damn near close to age.
But that's what I'm saying is that we take these experiences, right, and you put them in
sweaty with it.
Dude, because we have to be sweaty. The only way to make I'm about building bridges. The only way to build the bridge between the shills and the grifters, right? The only way is to make a Boba Fett that satisfies both sides. And there you go. The Stanleys was reading my mind. Here's where we do it. Jaster. Jaster is the way we do it. You show some flashbacks from Django's past involving him in the Mandalorian lore with the Darksaber.
And Jaster's sorry if I'm butchering this shit, but he's not the prototype of the DNA, is he?
No, Jaster was
so he wouldn't look any right. Yeah.
Jaster's the one that saved Jango Fett and was Jango Fett's
DNA
mentor.
was used.
And Jango's Fett, he's Jango Fett's mentor. So in the Mandalorian Civil War,
yeah, got it.
Jaster found Jango and trained Jango. And so the show would be about going back to Kamino in the start, Boba finding holocubes or whatever, leading him down this journey of some flashbacks that we get Tem as a younger Jango Fett, and that ties him to the Mandalorian. So he can, at the end of the series, he can go back to Mandalore and explain how he is one of them. Right? They always talk about him as, you're not Mandalorian, you're a clone. You know what? Fuck it, I am a clone. But I'm also Mandalorian. And bring him into that fold, because it needs to be part of the lore, because that would bring in both sides, right? I mean, that would satisfy everybody and make that first series season a revelation of what he's not, right? He escapes, he gets his revenge, he realizes that's not for me. And in the second season, just like all shows, he goes back to his past, he figures out who he is, and he ends up on Mandalore with Bo-Katan and all of them. Checkmate, end of story, get ready for Mandoverse Civil War, right? I mean, it just sets, how else do we get him in the Mandoverse Civil War? I don't want Din Djarin going,
hey Boba, I could use some more help. If you could help me out again, I'd be real thankful.
I don't want that shit again. I want Boba to come to the Mandalorians and be like, my dad was one of you, I'm one of you. Let's go. Let's blow some shit up.
My father has it. I have it.
Yeah, I mean,
my son has it.
yeah, man. And yes, a young Jango series getting approached by Dooku, get all of those memories in a Boba season 2, but ultimately Jaster being the largest part of that story, because that's what leads us back to Mandalore, right? I want this second season, if they do a second season of Boba, fuck Robbie Rod, give it to somebody that understands and talks like this, and lead Boba back to the Mythosaur, right? Back to Mandalore, back to his people. That's the only way you salvage the character going forward. I'm just saying, we'll see what happens. I hope they listen, because sometimes we know more than we think we do. So Dan's taking a call, but what else is on the docket? What else have we heard lately?
Well, only because somebody had mentioned it, Star Wars Eclipse. I actually hadn't heard anything about that game in mad long, but I guess they did sit down with IGN pretty recently, and there's some pretty cool shit to talk about. And so if anyone doesn't know, Quantic Dream, I think one of their most popular games is called Detroit Become Human. And they're pretty, all their games are popular for choose your own adventure. So in Detroit Become Human, it's a third person view, and the subject is a set in which third person view, which is subject to a set and controllable perspective. There are multiple playable characters who can die as this, and the story will continue on after their death.
Interesting.
So yeah, so they're actually trying to apply the same principles of their games like that to a Star Wars game. And one of obviously their biggest hurdles is that the canon is so rigid with Star Wars. I think the advantage is that this is a High Republic game. So it's literally going to be like Game of Thrones. Don't fall in love with any of these characters, because you could die, get killed off, and then you just don't play as that character anymore. They're just not in the game anymore. And there's no game over screen. They're just fucking dead. So yeah, I think there's some excitement coming with that game. I actually haven't heard any excitement about that other game.
Um,
What's it called?
Outlaws
Outlaws.
is
That's
it's
been radio
still
silent too.
working. Eclipse is still working. I hear the KOTOR remake is on the table,
I heard
possibly
that's
flatlined.
dead. I think
That's
that's
also what I heard, which is a huge bummer.
yeah,
Uh,
that's indefinitely whatever, not
uh,
happening.
but yeah, I'd love to see some more flashbacks, especially since Tem is so gun ho. I would honestly like to see Tem direct this. I would like to see somebody that's got a vision of Boba more than anybody direct
Yeah.
my version. And honestly, I would love to have a conversation with him about that, because I feel like that's the Boba that he would like to make.
Well,
Also.
he even said it when he was sitting down with I mean, Ming-Na Wen was there in that one interview. He was saying how he thought he talked too much. He said
Well, he
I would
talked too
talk
much.
less or whatever.
Yes,
Less
but
lines.
ultimately,
Yeah.
I think if you're going to have a show called Boba Fett, you have to have Boba Fett talk,
True.
and with or without his helmet. Look, the Matt
Yeah.
Cave is behind you. I read today that Sony has pretty much given up on the backing of KOTOR remake.
Yeah.
But they are open to another studio taking it over, which is basically saying, I'm not building the wall; they're building the wall. Boba Show needs to be lore aspect. I totally agree. I think it totally blends into what we're trying to do, and I think Tem would be the best directorial candidate to come in and show us his vision of this. If not, definitely add him as as part of the writing team to make sure they get it right, because I think he understands more Boba Fett than anybody except for George and Dave. So fuck Robbie Rod, fuck celebrity directors. I would love to see, even though I know the Gilroys are busy on Andor, I would love to see a Gilroy-esque writers, somebody who people talk shit about for not knowing Star Wars, that come out and make an amazing Star Wars show, understanding a little bit more about it from an outside perspective. But yeah, yeah, too much childish tone, great. But it's also a good entry. Right. I'm not saying that it necessarily went well. I'm not saying that it was the best show in the world. I have my critiques on it, but it was a good introduction with the hype that it got. And I think a second season would let a good director, a good storyteller, somebody like Tem, to be on board to help them get across the finish line with a story that brings Boba back into the fold, into the Mandoverse, back to Mandalore through Camino. I think the only road for Boba to Mandalore is through Camino, right?
I've started to approach, dude, I've literally started to approach Star Wars like a boxing match. And like, I want to see what Star Wars does in response to Boba Fett. Like, I do want to see a second season only because of the attention season one got. I don't know. I think they've bounced back. Yeah. And I think they've bounced back with a lot of things. Like, I think Andor was a huge bounce back from some of the Kenobi, whatever. And I think Ahsoka is another bounce back for some sweaties. I don't know. Like, I think Skeleton Crew might not hit with everybody, but then the next thing you get, it's just going to it's going to ping pong, I think, a little here. I'm excited.
I mean, look, just like, and I don't really harp on it very much because I don't really get vested in it, even though I enjoy it. I'm not as large into the lore as I am Star Wars. But even, the Marvel stuff, sometimes you got to take an L to get to the next step, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, kind of mentality, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. However you want to look at it in that process. Sometimes you got to take an L to get a W, right? And I'm not saying that everything has, yes, we as the audience want everything to be perfect all the time. That's an expectation. But ultimately, in this time, sometimes you got to progress the story with an L, right? Loki is a good example to She-Hulk, right? I'm not saying She-Hulk is a great progressor in the story, but sometimes you got to take an L to take a step forward. So now I'm hoping now with Dave in a more satisfying position of power, not just a title but a seat at the table. I'm hoping that we get a little more, Boba season 2, Ahsoka season 2, acolytes on the table, and hopefully one of these after Echo premieres will give us that MA rating, so that we can move forward and get us some darker stuff, right? Some Acolyte being a little more violent. Even further than that, give us a Sidious show that is violent and bloody, and we get to see the true darkness that was Darth Sidious, right? Not just this this vanilla version that we've gotten over the years, aside from some Force lightning. Show me him, you know, killing his family. Show me him, you know, disassembling Vader and then having a moment of flashback to when he disassembled his family or something violent.
You know what's really funny about this, Daniel, for me anyway, is all it takes is one goddamn trailer, dude. People remember when the Eclipse trailer came out and everybody saw that alien species with the no nose, Voldemort looking sons of bitches. Everybody was hyped. Everybody was like, wait, what is this? We're getting High Republic stuff like right now. Like the initial hype was there. One trailer, bro. Everyone's coming back to Star Wars.
Well, and I feel like, look,
that game's coming, man.
Yeah, I mean, that game's coming. I'm hopeful for the future of what's coming, but ultimately this news today is nothing but good news, right? Dave getting a legit seat at the table is nothing but good news for games, for television, for movies, for all things involved in the Star Wars IP. This is nothing but a good thing.
I think a lot of his Knights of the Round Table, his writers, I think they're going to stick around long term too. Some of the people that helped with all his stuff.
Well, it takes a team.
Mando. I mean, I'll be more specific. The Mando writers and the Mando writers that came over to do Ahsoka with him. Like he has a little like harem now following him around.
Well, that's good. I mean, good directors do the same thing. You surround yourself with the same group of people, right? You want the same director of photography because they gave you that look, right? That you really like. The same lighting director that works well with the director of photography. You have, you know, you want the same quality to produce every time you're out there, right? So there's a reason James Cameron works with the folks he works with. There's a reason that Favreau works with the folks he works with. Unfortunately, Favreau, I hate to say this out loud, but Favreau kind of star fuckers when it comes to picking directors, right? They're kind of star fuckers in Disney when it comes to picking directors and things like that for their content. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. I would rather have a no-name writer, producer, director that knows their Star Wars lore rather than a celebrity, a name. Just the name doesn't. Robbie Rod is the evidence, right? You have this person that makes an amazing episode of Mando, but can't hold the story for an entire season if his life depended on it. So I think that the understanding the character more than having a celebrity director or writer is a big thing. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, I think Dave would be a great mentor for Charles Soule, right? Let's get him into the live action. Let's get him away from
all killer, no filler.
All killer, no filler, man. Yeah, I mean,
nightmares, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And again, I think
shut your mouth. I think Robbie Rod, you sit down and you shut up.
I think that now, see, why didn't they make a South Park episode about that?
And shut up.
Why didn't they make a South Park episode about that? Right. But I mean, look, it's still, this is the stuff I talk about on a regular. I don't want that celebrity director, right? I don't need that whole thing. It's very simple, right? Now that Dave is in charge a little more, hopefully he'll have say and can keep his Mando team.
Matt, but we do need that Rogue Squadron with Patty Jenkins. I do need that Patty Jenkins. She got to come over.
I think the flip-flopping on that has been a big thing. Who knows? She could come back. It could.
Bro. I don't care what Star Wars says. I don't care what Dave Filoni says. I don't care what Kathleen Kennedy says. You make that phone call, she's coming to Lucasfilm the next day.
Right, exactly.
Like that script is already written 5 times over.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, I think with Dave in control of maybe a little more, we'll also be able to get these writers, directors that actually understand Star Wars rather than the star fucking that's going on over at Disney picking directors for these projects. But
Absolutely.
you know, that being said, we'll see where they go moving forward. It's a weird time to be a Star Wars fan. It always has been.
Agreed.
It always will be. This is not a perfect IP.
Actually, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan right now. You know why? Because it's fucking quiet.
Well, it is
There's
quiet.
nothing going on, so no one's arguing. We're all just pointing and laughing at Marvel and DC right now.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing is that I mean, every IP is a little bit of a mess, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm
this,
gaming.
I mean, look, I feel like South Park could have got hard in the paint on somebody like Robbie Rod and his shitty Star Wars rather than the KK episode that they did this last time. But it is what it is. You know, it's a good time. It's good news for Star Wars because now Dave has a seat at the big kid table.
And I hope there was a reason they did this. I hope that there's another announcement. I don't know. But
Well,
it just
I mean,
seems weird that they're like, oh yeah, sat down with Dave Filoni and he dropped this bomb on me.
We're only a year and a half away from 25, and I think 25 is when Kathleen's contract is up. So this could be the wayward forward progression of Kathleen.
Who fills that spot?
Right. I don't know. I think you hire a numbers person. I don't think you hire a story producing person for that job. I think you hire somebody that you're the CEO. Your job is to make the board happy. Your job isn't to be involved in creative. And I think that's why
honestly, they're probably already grooming somebody. There's probably already somebody looking for this opportunity, you know, maybe. I don't know.
Well, no,
it's always like some star-studded person with all these like accolades and things, but there's no one out there right now that I can.
But I think that's why they're trying something different here, right? Because Feige wasn't named CCO, he was named CEO and president, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Who? Sorry,
Feige from Marvel.
Feige is the same. He's creative officer.
Okay, so he's a CCO. Okay, perfect.
CCO.
So Feige
for the Marvel films,
right? So this is a lateral for that position. This getting overall control of the story. That's what this position is creating. And so what they could be doing here is Dan's back. Hold on, let me make sure Dan gets his proper entrance.
Yeah, I was looking it up earlier. He's like Kevin Feige. Another for your comic folks, Jim Lee is this person for DC Entertainment and their comic side of things.
Right.
But it's cool. He's going to be in charge of like the marketing and the promotion of Lucasfilm.
Well, but that gets me back to my last point is that with this, hopefully Dave can reel in the conversations that are had by his directors. Right. Hopefully this is an opportunity for Dave to say, okay, nobody talks to the press but me. Right. No directors like Robbie Rod on Twitter. No, all killer, no filler. Right. This is, I think, an opportunity for him to be in charge of the entire media process also. And a way for them to start to transition Kathleen away from this IP by giving Dave full story control and finding another person over the next year and a half. Because the vetting process has to start now for her replacement. If they are going to get her out by 25, 26, the vetting process is going to start in the next year.
I refuse to even begin a countdown on this woman's exit.
No. I'm saying this is a great opportunity for Star Wars, for Lucasfilm, to create a story position that is the CCO of Lucasfilm, the same way they did with Marvel, so that it doesn't matter who the president of those are. That person is secure in the story position, and the CEOs can CEO. Right? I think this is a good way of taking her out of the equation and putting her in the boardroom and not on set.
Yeah, I mean, people always argue about her and like she's got to get fired, but not one of those people could name another human on this planet that could do that they would want to put in her job. I don't know. I just don't know people of this caliber. Like,
no,
above my pay grade, bro.
I mean, that's it. Again, it's got to be somebody that understands the the function of running a studio. You're not just the president of this little thing. It's a giant thing. It's a giant business.
Exactly.
Okay, so last thing on the menu. Dan, are we talking about this on stream or are we talking about this in the backstage?
We're gonna talk about this on stream. We can get into the details backstage though.
Okay, well, lay it on us. What's going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, germs and germites, Jedi and Sith of all kind. If you've been following Dan the Man, as long as you know me, you know that I'm a filmmaker who's been working on this show. I know I talk about it up here a lot. The show has been in development since at least 2021. And as of today, the boy has got the green light from investors with their own production company to get this bitch into production as early as 2024. And we're going to meet back up in January and get this thing rolling now that the strike is over. It's down. Obsession, you know you're my guy. I'm going to bring you on. Scotty, you know I got you. This is about to be the best show you've done ever seen. I love this talk we're doing with Dave Filoni being the head of Lucasfilm. Well, for this particular project, Dan the Man is the head of his own show. Let's get it.
Yeah. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yes. That's hype.
Thank you.
That's super hype.
That's fantastic, dude. Yeah, so that's the big stuff that's been going on for our guy Dan. So we are going there's big stuff going on too. Look, I've got something big in the mix. I don't Dan, we'll talk about details at the end of this, but if things work out the way I'm hoping that they work out in the near future, hopefully you're going to have to go and do some scouts and stuff like that. But we're working on something big here. I've taken some time away to start really making some interesting changes. Not so much changing of what content. We're going to do something big. I'm not going to label it an extravaganza, but I put it on the level of extravaganza because we're going to do something huge. I don't see a lot of other creators in our space doing, and it's going to be big. I've got really big stuff in the works, some stuff that's a lot of fun. I don't want to give it away. The guys that are around and come in the streams all the time know all about it and what's going on. I've shared with Scotty one of the big things that's coming in the next couple weeks. We're going to be advertising for that in a big way. I might even spend some money on some AdSense ads to get this particular stream hyped up. That's coming in the next 2 weeks, probably second week of December. I'm going to let you guys know more, but there's something big coming to the channel. We're going to be doing something huge. And then probably in the new year, it's going to take a couple months to get, but probably in the new year is when we're going to do the extravaganza. And I can't even tell you this is something I think, look, I'm a little guy. I don't make money here. I don't, do enough for any of that, but I'm putting major money into what's coming next. So I hope you guys will be around. I hope you guys will enjoy. I hope you guys will tell your friends and anybody that even remotely talks or is interested in Star Wars to come and join us for this, because it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. It's going to be so huge. It's going to be the hugest and most wonderful thing in all of Star Wars for the dreamers. So it's going to be big. We're having a good time with it. Again, I can't wait to tell you guys about it, but I want to get it locked in. I want to get things dialed in before anything comes out, but I'm already making moves. We're reserving space. We're getting crew booked. There's something big going on. We're going to talk about it in the backstage. So I think we're going to cut it. I wanted to come in and talk about this Dave thing. I feel like we have beat that horse into the ground. But yeah, I mean, we're going to jump in the backstage. We're going to talk all things coming. Anybody that I sent the link to, we're not going to stream, but if you want to come in and get the gist, come in and hang out. If you want to get into the backstage for this next little, 20-30 minute conversation, send me something on the Discord and I will let you come in, because we're just going to talk big plans. So big plans in the backstage coming up. Hawks is going to close us out. What's going on?
I haven't streamed in like a month, and it's really just like the work life
balance.
Also, the games I play, literally all of them early development, beta, etc. But December, Tarkov Arena launches. I get that free because I bought this super expensive one. It's 5 versus 5, so it's like team based respawn. No more like it's me getting better at the game, guys. Come through. The deaths mean less, but it's Tarkov is super immersive. If anyone's ever
Yes.
seen it, that's what I'm looking for with the games I play.
Yes.
Another one, Dark and Darker, is a dungeon crawler. All these games have in-game voice, which is the thing that Fortnite lacks that makes
Dude,
games so much
if
better.
they
Shit talk,
Fortnite proximity
everything,
chat, bro,
like
forget it.
so literally like barefoot slapping in the dungeon with a sword and a shield, just talking shit and melee attacking other people. Lastly, and I think this is the biggest. I, for the last month, have been playing Grand Theft Auto on RP servers. I will be rolling a cop character.
No.
I don't know why, but the
What?
voice has always got to be Southern. So I will be talking like this the entire time that I'm in my cop character.
Traitor.
Right?
God, I
This
love
shit is not just GTA. We're going to be
Oh,
catching
my
these scumbags and we're going to be sending them to jail.
Oh,
I'm going to need people in my chat that know penal law, literally, because I know the shit.
Well, the funny thing is, most people know that stuff really well. Like, if you get into some of these RP servers, they know the laws. Like, it's like people that want to be like jailhouse cops. Like, it's like the guy
Bro,
who's in jail.
I have met people who enjoy writing tickets.
It's so funny.
You are a narc. I hate you in real life. But anyway, like I'm gonna be that guy that sets myself apart.
Yes.
I'm in a smaller city, so you know people know like No Pixel is one that people know. But I'm so inspired by the shit. The admins, it's all player run businesses. Like you're going to the burger store, you're buying shit from a guy who chooses to clock in 9 to 5 in a fake ass city and sell burgers. I just and they're so fucking funny, bro. They're so funny.
But I mean, that's also one of the best things about all of these gaming servers is that the voice proximity chat makes the game totally different. That's the only reason I play Call of Duty is the proximity chat. So
the
I'm
craziest thing, last part about the Grand Theft Auto. The craziest shit about Grand Theft Auto is that Rockstar just made an announcement. First week in December, we're gonna get a Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. They also so Rockstar now owns 5M, which are the role play servers that have been keeping this game alive for what, a decade, 15 years. So there are devs from the 5M role play servers now hired and working for Rockstar. If you don't think RP is going to be huge in 6, like, I don't know, you got to come through and see it. I definitely think you got to come through and see me as a cadet and work my way up through lieutenant status, but that shit's going to happen.
How are you going in? I'm going in pink, full body mustache.
Oh, and we can design the character.
I'm going in as a pink rabbit. Let's go. If you haven't seen Free Guy, I recommend that. That is the future of gaming.
But yeah, I got the week before Christmas off entirely. Expect that to be heavy, like extraction stuff. And I'm gonna do a GTA stream very soon this week. I'm out early tomorrow, so you might see a stream go up. I've been recording for the last month, so we might just go through all the clips and meet all the people that I've met. Hilarious shit getting pulled out. Like it's a lot, guys. You gotta come through.
It's honestly a lot of fun. We've watched some of it. It's a lot of fun. Scotty's link is in the chat, as well as the Matt Caves link is on its way. Get out, check out these guys' channel. There's a lot of good stuff going on. The Matt Caves on every Wednesday, doing Way Back Wednesday. I think this week is a visit back to Resident Evil. So get over there and check out that stuff. Find me
on the socials. I'm very active on Instagram and Twitter,
and
very active.
I'm gonna plug mine in the chat. Right.
Dan, hit yours because
mine are all on my YouTube banner up top.
Hold on,
I got the right one.
But my cop needs backstory and everything. Y'all also come through.
Yeah, I'm down with it. yeah, I mean, I think at the end of this, we're just going to go with what we always go with. Don't forget to get your pet spayed, neutered, help control the pet population. Also, if you see some stray animals out there, it's wintertime, help them out, leave out some food or water, help them get through the harsh winters. If you got space to leave something warm, leave something warm for our furry friends out there. They help the ecosystem and they help us more in ways than you can think. Also, don't forget, tell your loved ones, your family, your friends, your pets, happy Thanksgiving. Tell them you love them. Tell them how you feel, because you never know what tomorrow brings. Life is short. And as always, thank my cohorts in crime, Dan the Man, Scotty Hawks, Matt Cave, all of you, because without you, I would be talking to myself and we would be talking to ourselves, which we do anyway, but we appreciate you being here. As always, be safe. May the force be with you. More information coming soon on all things on this is driving me. End it, Scotty. Can you end it? I'm having the hardest.
Ending it? How do I end it?
I got it. It's ending.